War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
The evil is mine.
Speaking of Alexa, Twisted Presence has arrived.
Welcome to my playground. It'll be fun. I
Alexa Bliss making her way without Lily, who still remains in timeout to the best of our knowledge. Hopefully, Lily stays in timeout.
I feel like, how do we not open with Alexa's new music? It was the best version I could find. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the War Report podcast. Vince, do you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, welcome to the War Report podcast brought to you by TagMeADate.com. TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. We'll be back in a jiff, as they say, on the Tag Me a Date side. But of course, we are here weekly for our Tuesday podcast, the War Report, talking all things pro wrestling. Steve opened up with the Alexa Bliss theme. Of course, she factored into both Hell in a Cell and Monday Night Raw. We'll discuss both of those. We'll discuss SmackDown, because SmackDown and Raw had Hell in a Cell matches, in addition to Hell in a Cell having Hell in a Cell matches. So a lot to cover there. And I don't know if we'll touch on any AEW stuff, but as we're going, more of our usual co-hosts will drop in. If you're watching the video stream, you'll see my cat drop in, as she's doing right now, every now and again. That's why you watch the video stream instead of get the audio. But let's get things started here, Steve. What do you want to get? What do you want to get started with?
There's so much.
Yeah.
That I'm just so fucking pissed off about.
Do you mean with StreamYard and your computer, or you just mean in wrestling?
I mean, we can bundle both together. I mean, the fucking computer, I'm ready to throw out a fucking window.
Are you seeing the things that say we can't connect to your Facebook account right now? Are you seeing those?
Well, but I thought I just fixed it.
I know it stinks, right?
Well, you know what it is.
What happened?
I think we're good now.
Okay.
Fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. When I gave you the access last week because I was all fucked up, now it locked, saying that I may not be aware of it. And I don't know if we're currently on Facebook or not. The thing up top doesn't look like it is, but I did it. We have a comment.
We're on YouTube, but whatever. We're around. Funny enough, Autumn, Kat's daughter, has commented on YouTube. I didn't even know she had her own YouTube account. My mom will be on in 1 minute, so apparently Kat will be on, and we can learn about the all of the goings on with them. It's actually going to be Kat's last show for a couple weeks because she's moving. Her family is moving, and that will allow her to have probably a better podcasting space, I would assume, and more space overall in the house, and also will bring us closer to our friend Bob. If you guys remember Bob, Bob's been going through it and having some medical problems. And if he's listening, I hope that his rehabilitation and his physical therapy are going well. And I hope he's back on the mend. But now that Kat's going to be down where Bob is, hopefully we're going to get him on the show and he can talk a little wrestling too.
Yeah, for sure. Vince, I don't even know where to start, man. I have so many mixed emotions. I mean, listen, I guess we have to start with Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that was
because
like
that makes the most sense.
Pay-per-view for me. It was okay. It was fine.
You
It
know
wasn't-
what?
It didn't blow me away.
What bothers me the most is that Hell in the Cell is supposed to be the type of pay-per-view that you don't sit there and say it was just okay, you know, or you know, I mean, and listen, there's never going to be a Hell in the Cell better, in my opinion, than Undertaker Mankind. That will always be.
Yeah, and even like
you're never gonna top it.
Shawn Undertaker in the first Hell in a Cell. That's up there as like great Hell in a Cell. But this is in a time where you would have a Hell in a Cell once every year. Like it came up because somebody was in a feud to the point where they needed the Hell in a Cell. Now Hell in a Cell is on the schedule and you just kind of schedule it, and now it's lost the significance that it used to have. It's kind of just another cage match now, unfortunately. But there was a time when the Hell in a Cell was important, and it ended feuds, and it gave a sense of finality where having one Hell in a Cell on Friday night, two Hell in a Cell matches on Sunday at the pay-per-view, which
and
is
then another one on Raw,
and then another one on Raw, is like,
what are we
first
doing?
of all, it's overkill, and second of all, it's unnecessary. It really kills the mystique of this, like, and they painted the fucking thing red. Can we just I know it's happened, it's been a couple years now, but what the absolute fuck? Why is it like that? Why is it red? The red looks so bad, and it looked even worse on the everything on the SmackDown set is blue, and they dropped this big red cage in. It looked like shit. The black cage was fine. The steel cage was fine. I don't know why we need to go mess around powder coating this bullshit. I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, Kat, you just jumped on. What did you think of that pay-per-view?
You want my honest answer?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, it was very predictable. I mean, aside from, even still, I was going to say, like, I think you even said it in the chat. The only big face moment was Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
And everything else was the heels. Even still, those weren't unpredictable matches. I think the only one I got wrong was the Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens
got that one wrong too.
I mean, even the Charlotte Flair match, it was a technicality because it was a DQ, so she retained, whatever. But we knew Rhea was walking out of there with the belt one way or another.
Right. And so that's where my problems started.
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean with the phantom kicks?
Well, I mean, okay, so yes.
So there were a lot of botches, and
Charlotte was beating the shit out of little Jimmy.
I mean, you know, I don't. First of all, you don't expect to see that from Flair.
No.
I don't even know. Listen, it doesn't fucking matter. The blame is at the end of the day, it looked so fucking horrible, and there were a lot of matches that had things that were just as bad.
Yep.
A lot of sloppiness, like the hand coming out of the ring.
What?
Yeah.
Like that about?
I mean, these are just two examples. Like there was a lot that went wrong on this pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, for me, match of the night, I think honestly was Bayley versus Bianca Belair.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, by default.
But I enjoyed that match. I mean, that was probably the better Hell in the Cell match, I think, all around, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because Steve, I don't know if you've noticed this. The Hell in a Cell matches and the street fights and the no DQ things, it's the same. WWE, unfortunately, has gotten into a formula. It's the same shit every time. Somebody pulls out a table, they do the table thing. Okay, we're done with the tables. We're going to move on to the stairs. And they do a couple things with the stairs. Okay, we're done with the stairs. We're going to go to the kendo sticks and like the chair to the back. Oh man, remember, the most devastating move, the chair to the fucking back. Like, it's the worst. If you're not going to do chair shots to the head safely, just don't do them. Chair shots look like shit anywhere else. So, like, they just have these, like, you can fill it in when you watch any of these no DQ matches. Like, okay, this is the table segment. This is the stairs segment. This is the kendo stick segment. It's just like, we get it. Like, they need to come up with a new formula for the Hell in a Cell matches because they've just kind of been going back to the same thing over and over and over. And I mean, even like the New Day and the Usos was great, but it was the same thing. You had that one thing where it was like 5 minutes. It was all about the kendo sticks and getting Xavier Woods stuck in the cage. And then there was like the next part that was the tape. Like it's just all very samey at this point. So they need to do something different, especially when you have.
I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, it's kind of like, what else can you fucking do? Like, I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
even
like,
if you try and think
Jim
outside
Cornette
the
had
box.
a tennis racket. Like, come on, somebody bring. Like, Drew is Scottish, so he should hit him with a fucking thing of haggis, or like take his kilt off and flash his balls at. I don't know, something.
They come up with something different every time. In the War Game situation, there's something going on, making it a little bit more different. You know?
Yeah. Like the War Games, the bumps are a little bit different and all that, and like the order is different, and
it comes down to how.
Oh, she froze.
And it's always right when you're about to deliver.
Right when you're about to deliver your big point.
Right.
Now it just looks like, oh, Kat, you cut out. What was your big point?
Sorry. It's pouring rain here right now.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Here too.
Yeah.
Like
So
Sasha and 18, that's a good call. That was a great Hell in the Cell match. Those women, but you know what? It was also it was the first time those two, right? You know what I mean? So that gives it, you know, that too. But that's a good call.
Hey, listen, kudos to my kid that she doesn't come up with like Melina and Alicia Fox or something, though. She came up with a legit match.
Right, she came up
we wouldn't have even acknowledged her on the show at that point. I mean, we would have just,
I think if she did that, I'd recommend you didn't feed her dinner. Like, why?
She's eating it right now while she's watching.
Okay.
So
I would have you smack the sandwich out of her hand or whatever it is. It's like, what do you mean you like the Melina Alicia Fox match and just smack it out of her? You threw it on the ground.
I think she just yelled, "Who's Melina?"
Oh, okay. That's even better.
I like Melina.
I know, but it's so funny to think that there's another, like, that was a generation ago.
Yeah, sure.
The butterfly belt, the Divas.
Melina from Eminem. What?
The ugly girl, the one that doesn't know how to move?
Yeah.
The one that can't do a split?
Oh, see, I don't think she's ugly, and I think she can do a split well.
She's talking about when she fell doing the split, though.
All right.
Okay,
So how long was she in the WWE?
Jennifer Lopez?
She was in the WWE for what? Like 10 years?
Easy.
Was it easy?
Oh,
So she fucked it up once. You know, I
This is
mean,
a 12-year-old.
shit happens.
They call this shit like there's no
Oh man,
tomorrow.
yeah. Children know how to get to your soul. They'll find exactly what you're like insecure about and just hit you with it.
Yep.
They really will.
That's all
Autumn's
you're
just-
known for.
Just a shooter. She comes on here and shoots on Melina like
I told you,
with
man, she's
no
ready.
filter.
She's ready.
You know what else bothered me about the pay-per-view?
Whatever.
And I want to know if it was just me. We had 2 or 3 matches, and then they went back to that fucking panel with Rosenberg and JBL and Lawler, and they had a whole conference about the first set of matches for like 10, 15 minutes. Like, that's supposed to be before the show starts.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you want to do something at the end of the show. But I don't know. To me, that just kind of pissed me off. Like, I didn't give a fuck what their opinion was about those matches. I just wanted to keep it going.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. I feel like this is another thing where when the WWE network first came out, our concern was that we're going from a $35 or $45 pay-per-view, or a WrestleMania was all the way up to $60 back then, that the value of the pay-per-view or the quality of the pay-per-view would start to match the value. And we saw that happen where the pay-per-view started to become quote unquote worth $9.99. Whereas back in the day when you would order a WWF pay-per-view and you paid your $34.99 and you had to call in at a 1-800 number. This is before you could order it on the remote. This is how old we are. You would call in and order. You'd speak to a live person and order a pay-per-view. How fucked up is that? But you'd pay your $35 and you'd get, you know, Hogan and Rodman against DDP and Karl Malone, or you'd get Stone Cold versus The Undertaker, or you'd get Mankind versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell. That was a $35 pay-per-view, or you and your friends all chipped in a couple bucks and bought the pay-per-view and got pizza. When it became $10,
Or you found somebody with the illegal box and you
right
called
with
it
those
a day. Right?
yeah.
Those black
Right.
boxes.
But it was worth a certain amount of money. Then those pay-per-views started becoming worth $9.99 and the quality dropped. Now Peacock is $5 a month. That was officially a $5 pay-per-view.
I will say this.
footlong.
I think I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but what I will say is I think we're going to continue to get those $5 type pay-per-views until SummerSlam.
Well, then that was going to be my caveat.
Once
Big
we have
Four.
the live crowd, and I mean the rumors that are going around between Edge, John Cena, The Rock, between SummerSlam and Survivor Series, and the live crowds, and this and that, things are going to start to pick up, I think. And then the Fiend, Lord knows, but there's rumblings that he'll be coming back soon. So there's a lot, but I think they're holding off on a lot of things. Like even subtle things, like notice how RK Bro still really isn't RK Bro yet. They're going to wait for the live crowd so they get that pop when Orton finally raises his hands behind Matt Riddle for the pose. You know what I mean? I think all of these things that were like, why the fuck haven't they happened yet? I think they're waiting for that live crowd. My other question is, why the fuck don't we have a live crowd already? I mean,
Just
all the states are
logistically,
getting rid of their shit. The cruises are back going, the casinos are open, Vegas is back live. Florida never really gave a fuck anyway. Most of the shows are in Florida, so I at this point, I don't understand why we haven't jumped that gun. But listen, what do I know? I just
Partially about it is there was a whole big thing last week. It was on one of the wrestling websites or whatever that there are wrestlers that still do not want to get the vaccine. And Vince wants everyone that's going to be on the road shows vaccinated.
Yep.
There are people that still want to wait and see what side effects are and everything like that.
So don't sell them tickets.
No,
he's talking about wrestlers.
not the wrestlers, not the arena.
Oh, the wrestlers.
There's wrestlers that don't want.
I know Karrion Kross is probably one of them, or I would assume.
Correct. He was on the list.
Why would you assume that?
I just read a lot of internet comments, and people have been trying to not cancel, but just they want to like virtually shame Karrion Kross for not wanting the vaccine. So I've seen a lot of comments about it in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, of course.
Does that Jason Rikers, I believe, was another one.
Oh yeah, well he's
I could see that.
He's like really hard right, and that's coming from somebody who's pretty conservative. He's pretty hard right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's just names that have come up or whatever.
And there are probably a couple others,
right. And it depends if it's your big stars.
Yeah. Plus, logistically, it's probably hard to arrange arenas and staffing and trucks and this and that. It takes a couple weeks to get that all started.
Put it this way to some extent, because it's like not getting into a whole big COVID vaccine or going into a whole medical thing. But we know Roman Reigns has to be really careful about what he cannot take. So if someone of his stature, let's say, God forbid, he wasn't approved to get it yet, or they wanted to wait with someone like him, that's a huge risk to take to put him on the road.
That's a true story.
Yeah. So I guess the other option is just don't book those people on the road.
But that's just it then. If you're going to see on the road, you expect to see some of
Everybody.
those people.
Yeah, but you know what? Fuck them. Like, honestly, you got at that point, you just say fuck them. I mean, they're independent contractors. They're not employees. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
No, but I mean, listen, you don't want.
I'm not saying fire them.
But if I'm going to SmackDown, I expect to see Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and all that there. If that's a contributing factor, that could have been why they extended it out to some extent, is what I'm saying.
Right, but what I'm saying is, rather than risk Roman Reigns' health by booking somebody to go on the road who's not vaccinated, just don't book that person until either they're vaccinated or, it's like however long, like 6 months later, and they're like, oh shit, I should probably do this to get booked. I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Prolong him all along and get back on the road and start everything over. Okay, I see what you mean.
I'm saying whoever's vaccinated, what they should just do, if you're vaccinated, you're on the road, and if you're not, you're not. And, we'll pay your contract.
But like Kat said, like if you're paying to go and see a SmackDown show, you're paying to see Roman Reigns. And if he's one of those guys that can't go on the road, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when John Cena was.
And ticket sales are bad enough as they are right now.
It's kind of like I remember going to a show years ago. John Cena was the headline. And travel issues, he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered refunds 4 matches in to the entire building. Yeah. Because people were pissed. There were kids. Literally, I was watching crying because they announced that John Cena wouldn't be there. It was unreal. And I was actually very impressed that they offered a refund. And you know what? A lot of people took it.
Yeah, because he's the big draw, and Reigns would be the big draw. But what I'm saying is, if Reigns is if Reigns is okay to go on the road, and he can be around vaccinated people, fuck everybody else. Run the show with Roman Reigns and whoever's vaccinated.
I see what you mean.
Just fuck them. And then figure it out. If they want to get vaccinated, they'll realize that if they want to get back on SmackDown, they'll get vaccinated.
It's amazing if you go back and listen to shows from even 6, 10, 12 months ago. Who would have ever thought we'd be sitting here talking about how people are paying to go to SmackDown to see Roman Reigns?
Yeah, right.
It's amazing.
Either. I mean, it's great that he's doing it.
I'm so happy.
I'm glad he's doing it. I just, it's what it's exactly what I pictured from Roman Reigns turning heel, because when he was babyface, he ran through the whole roster, and now that he's heel, he ran through the whole roster again. So I was like, it's just the same thing in reverse, but at least he's improved. Everything that he's doing is so much better. Now that he's had more years, more experience, he's better at promos. He's not saying suffer and succotash.
What are these fucking rumors going around that there's talks of turning him babyface already? Have you been hearing that rumor? I've heard it a couple times.
I heard it a little bit.
Why the fuck would we do that? This is working well because it's working too well, right? So we got to fuck it up.
Right. It's that thing where, The Rock was a heel, and then people liked his heel work, and he became a babyface. Okay.
Right. So when you finally set up Roman Rock, although there's talks that might actually happen Survivor Series.
Hey. But what I'm saying is you can't just go, Roman's a babyface now. He's going to fight Cesaro again, but this time Cesaro's a heel.
I'm also hearing his push is ending.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. All these guys who've held the fucking place together during the pandemic are going to get the shaft. Cesaro has every year people are clamoring and he gets a little bit of a push and they're like, maybe Cesaro win a big title. Nope. And then going back to Hell in a Cell, that bugged me. He got rolled up. He looked like a dummy.
Yep.
Kevin Owens got beat clean by Sami Zayn.
Yep.
And
now taking time off.
Yeah, now he's taking time off. If I knew he was taking time off, I wouldn't have fucking picked him in the pick'ems.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either.
And right, so we all assumed he was winning because the last time they had a really big match, Sami Zayn won, and that was when Sami Zayn was a babyface. So realistically, Kevin Owens should have gotten his win back. But anyway, he looked like a dummy. Fucking Drew McIntyre.
Great match though.
Yeah. Oh no, it was a great match. I'm just saying that he's out, baby. It was a heel heavy, a lot of heat pay-per-view, and then at the end, Drew couldn't win, and he was he had cousin It from fucking, or was it Thing from Addams Family, whichever one, was handing him pieces of table from under the ring. And all this other shit happened, and and then he loses to. Did he lose to a roll up as well? Another roll up loss.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
the baby faces, like I said, aside from Bianca, the baby faces looked really bad on this show. And then Monday night happened, and Nikki Cross came out, and everyone.
Oh my god!
By comparison,
what that's so.
I have heard that this is her idea.
I heard that too.
She's been, somebody internally was like, one of the writers, I helped her pitch this for a year.
Apparently Helms is ecstatic about it. Hurricane.
Yeah, but the costume needs work.
Oh my god, yeah.
She looked
mask
like the
beneath
female
it.
version of the Blue Blazer. Sorry, Owen.
It was, and this is again just another example of them making the outfits as bad as possible. Not to pile on, but this fucking Dewdrop girl, I feel really bad.
What?
Reviewing this
So
tour.
let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, we'll go back to silly costumes in a second. Let's talk about Dewdrop, aka Viper, aka Piper Niven.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What is a dropping?
It's a dewdrop.
Dewdrop.
What's a dewdrop?
Well, it's like dew, like
It's the mist, like mist.
you know, in the morning when you go out and you get the paper and there's dew on the grass.
It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my
Well,
life.
they spelled it wrong.
They
So
spelled
can
it wrong, but
copyright it.
that's actually her real name. You know, she's used that name before.
It's awful. I'd say it sounds like I'm sorry, Ms. Piper Viper Niven lady. Dewdrop with the outfit sounds like it's a fat Pokemon, and like Dewdrop. Like I'm expecting her just to say her own name, Dewdrop, and then she evolves into a bigger, fatter Pokemon. Like it's so, and you're like Dewdrop, go, and it goes on, it goes Dewdrop, and it throws water at somebody, and it goes Dewdrop. Like I don't know. I'm sorry. Like it just reminds me of a Pokemon.
It's a dumb fucking name. You put her with Eva fucking Marie.
I'm sorry, I
who
had to mute for
finally,
a second.
after 5 years, gets back in a ring and loses. And loses. And then the Piper chick, Dewdrip, whatever the fuck we're calling her, she turns on Eva Marie. So now Eva Marie's first feud is going to be
so all this shit was
with
like
this Dewdrip. I'm so confused. It makes no sense. She still sucks.
Like,
we were all right. Nothing has changed. Her promo work is shit.
But isn't this the kind of thing? And maybe they're just pulling the fucking ripcord on it because they realize how bad it is. But this is the kind of thing where, what's that movie where they take the girl and they dress her up to be prom queen? She's All That. The ugly girl gets made up to be a prom queen.
I'm thinking of Carrie. Sorry.
Oh, anyway, well, this is kind of similar. But there was like a '90s movie. I think it was She's All That. It was something like that where like there was a bet that the popular kids couldn't make the nerdy girl in school the prom queen.
Autumn's confirming that that's what it is.
It is. All right. So long story short, the rich girl, you know, the popular girl tries to get the unattractive girl to dress nicer and change her personality and become the prom queen, et cetera, et cetera. But it plays out over the course of a whole movie. And then the big reveal at the end is she thought she had friends, but they really were making fun of her behind her back. What I'm saying is this is a story that should be told like week 1, you're introduced and you're like, oh, this is a weird tag team. And then week 2 is like, oh, Eva Marie is like the boss of this girl and is trying to like boss her around and doll her up and make her something she's not. And then every week something else, and Eva Marie treats her a little worse every week. And oh, we're gonna do your makeup, but the makeup's terrible. And like, oh, we're gonna get you another outfit, and the next outfit's even worse. And like, you build it so like, you know, 6 weeks in, the big girl finally snaps at her, and you have a story, and you have a blow off match at a pay per view. It happened in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. This whole story happened in 2 segments of Monday Night Raw over the course of 2 weeks. I don't get it.
Because the hate last week was they begged it to be ended already.
So that must be it. That maybe they just decided, fuck, like they're just going to stop it. They're going to do their blow off match on Raw or SummerSlam. I hope not. Maybe the pre-show, and then what? Piper goes back to the UK. Like, what do we do? Why? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, no, Piper doesn't necessarily go back to the UK. I don't know what they're going to do now because they invested all this time and energy and promo shit and build up to Eva Marie, which I don't understand in the first place. And then to I don't know. There's
never
more
happened. They shouldn't have brought her back.
Well, we already know that. I mean,
yeah,
that's, you know.
What did they think was going to happen? Really? What did they think was going to happen?
What did she show them that was like, oh, we need to bring her back?
You really want the answer to that question?
No, I mean, from a wrestling standpoint, you know, because if it's just for her looks, you'd bring her back as a mouthpiece. You know, they clearly see something if they're going to put her back in the fucking ring, which I don't understand.
Autumn just gave me a great idea. on the chat there. Bring up that last one, Steve, the most recent one. You see that?
Now
There it is.
I'm all for
Good
that.
job, Autumn.
Now here's my thing to make that even better. They're going to be the new natural disasters.
Oh,
And Naya, because of her hole, can be mudslide. And then Dewdrop could be like, I don't know, not typhoon, but something else. Another one. She can't be the hurricane. She could be like Gale.
Dude, I
Force.
don't even think you can even do that anymore because they'll just say that you're body shaming because you're calling them natural disasters because of their size.
But do you know how
they
much
put
I
her
want
in
them?
Earthquake's outfit. What else are we supposed to do?
They did.
Tsunami, Autumn said.
There you go. And then their finisher is they have the one wrestler in the middle of the ring and they both hit the ropes and belly bump and squish them. I'm a genius.
It's horrible. It's fucking horrible.
This is why people tune in.
I should be defending this as a woman, and I can't.
But it's so I feel so bad because there is a way to tell this story where the girl that's not traditionally pretty and not traditionally sized becomes a likable babyface and gets over. And this really isn't it. Like there's a way. Like I said, that movie, She's All That. There's a way to tell this story where you make Dewdrop here sympathetic to the point where people want to cheer for her and really see her kick Eva Marie's ass. Right now, nobody wants to see the act at all. So that's the it's the difference between wanting to see Eva Marie get her ass kicked and wanting to see Eva Marie go off my television. It's the wrong kind of heat. Awful. We just spent a long time talking about stupid goddamn Eva Marie.
Did you guys talk about Samoa Joe before I came on?
Oh, we did not.
We've got Samoa Joe as we
saved it.
As we discussed last week, or there was speculation because NXT had comes out right after the show. What is Samoa Joe's role going to be? The way that their In Your House pay-per-view ended, there was an assumption that William Regal was going to retire. We had talked about it on the show right before it happened that maybe because Samoa Joe attacked people in the parking lot so much, and one of the last things he said to Regal on NXT TV was, "You need better security," that Joe would come in and be the head of security. And lo and behold, somebody at NXT this is how you can tell it was NXT and not Raw or SmackDown. Somebody with a fucking brain sat down and thought about it for more than 2 minutes. And they're like, hey, we're going to make him the head of security. So William Regal can still be on TV because he's awesome. And Samoa Joe can be on TV with the stipulation that Samoa Joe, cannot attack or harm anyone unless he is provoked first, if he's provoked. Exactly. So that means a lot of what we kind of thought. Samoa Joe probably still not medically cleared to wrestle, at least not cleared to wrestle a full-time schedule, perhaps cleared to wrestle a one-off match every now and again. Seems like he's okay to the point where he can get involved and be physical and like choke somebody out and do a couple wrestling moves, but it doesn't look like he's going to be like taking any big bumps anytime soon.
Which, listen, this is better than the alternative, which is nothing. So.
Yeah, the alternative, because we talked about this last week, and my opinion is the only way Joe returned to NXT or to WWE in general was if he was too injured to where a medical doctor wouldn't clear him to compete for AEW, because AEW would scoop him up in a second, and they were already talking to him. So if he was not medically cleared, or they said, hey, it's going to be X amount of time until you're medically cleared, and AEW doesn't have a role for him at the time, he made the absolute right choice to go back to NXT rather than Raw or SmackDown, because while it's the least watched show, it's the better show. Why would you want to be on Raw right now? Maybe you would want to be on SmackDown, but you definitely don't want to be on fucking Raw. So he made the right choice for his health. He probably made the right choice for his bank account. And, overall, I'm not going to be mad about somebody keeping their job. So I'm glad he's employed and, healthy to a point. I wish he could wrestle full time, but if he can't, at least it's nice that he's active on television in some capacity.
You know what? And at the end of the day, when, one thing that people don't give WWE enough credit for is their medical staff and how seriously they take any kind of injury that can ultimately hurt you or the person that you're going to be in the ring with. They take it seriously. And that's why they do put a lot of these people on the shelves, because they're not going to take that chance or liability or be responsible for putting them in that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm Tony Khan, I would want the same for my people.
Right.
And you have to go by the medical staff, So at the end of the day, I would have been excited to see Joe show up in AEW, even if they put him in the ring to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'd be sitting there saying there's a reason WWE wasn't letting him wrestle. And
right.
That's something that needs to be taken, seriously.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great that they everybody is taking their health so seriously now, especially because, like, unfortunately, I hate to bring this up, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff's
he looks horrible.
His son put out this video where clearly, unfortunately, Mr. Wonderful is suffering from the effects of dementia and doesn't seem to be in very well health. Initially, there was a response online that the video should stop being shared because it's this kind of older person being recorded kind of without their knowledge because he doesn't really have the mental capacity. But his son released a statement a few hours ago, the gist of which was that the son wanted this video to be shared by people because he believed that this dementia was the effects of both football and wrestling, concussions, blows to the head, taking bumps, and he wants people to see that and be warned that this shit is dangerous. So on one hand, I understand why people wouldn't want to watch it. It's very hard. It's a very personal video. It really should. It's not something that should be public. But at the same time, the son wants it out there to show the realities of head trauma and concussions and living a life on the road where you're constantly, you're basically in a car accident every night and your body doesn't respond to it. So unfortunately, he's showing, Mr. Wonderful is showing the ill effects of that. But on the flip side, now currently the WWE staff, I forget who it was, somebody had like their shoulder. Oh, Chelsea Green, who was recently released from WWE, had some kind of shoulder surgery or some kind of surgery where she needed to do physical therapy, and the WWE let her use the Performance Center and the trainers at the Performance Center to do her physical therapy. So they're taking health more importantly now. They're taking it very seriously. Where back in the day, there weren't team doctors. There was no real medical staff. You had Dr. Zahorian out there writing out prescriptions, but that was about it. So yeah, it is nice to see that their health is being taken a lot more seriously these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real deal. Can't play around with that shit. So, but either way, Joe is back in some capacity. So that's
good shit, man. I'm very excited. I'm happy that he's back on TV.
One thing we haven't really talked about.
What's that?
Both at Hell in the Cell and on Raw.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler? I kind of got a kick out of it. I'm not going to lie. You did or didn't?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was cracking up laughing hysterically.
I like how if she gets you to look at her, she controls you. Like, I like that whole idea. Right. I kind of like that whole idea. I like how she just, she's getting her ass kicked but laughing, and then, she screams, and then Nia screams. Like, the whole thing, I don't know. To me, it worked.
I don't like it. I'm just not into it. It's fine. Like, if people I don't mind that people like it. I don't know. I just like, people always go, oh, well, it's spooky. Well, The Undertaker was spooky. Yeah, but he was the one spooky guy that got over. What about fucking Mortis? What about, All those. What about all the guys in Smoky? There was a guy that was a mummy in Smoky Mountain, managed by James Mitchell. Like, there's a bunch of spooky gimmicks that sucked, and like we forget about them. The Undertaker and Kane are like the only ones that worked, and now the Fiend.
Boogeyman.
Well, yeah, the Fiend.
Well, did
True.
Boogeyman really work? Boogeyman was like.
Boogeyman got over after he left, and he comes back all these times now and does all the
Just
stuff.
the
When the
worm
Boogeyman
thing,
was
yeah.
originally going through, you didn't really get it.
Awful. But what I'm saying is, like, it's not for everybody.
I love
like
the
when you
Boogeyman.
people like it.
I
Yeah,
love the
but this
Boogeyman.
Alexa Bliss thing is just like, I don't know, dude. It's the doll thing started to push it over the edge. Now she's like controlling people with her mind and smacking people with other people's hands. Like, it's funny in the moment, but then it's like, all right, then is she gonna like hypnotize Rhea Ripley and make her lay down in the ring and like, because why else would you wrestle anybody else any other way? Wouldn't you just, as soon as the bell rings, fucking hypnotize somebody and just make them lay down on the ring? Like, I don't see where this is going, because if you're an unbeatable monster with a demon inside of you, eventually you have to wrestle Charlotte or Rhea Ripley, and then you're involving your world championship with this spooky stuff. And there's just, I don't know, there's a disconnect for me in that. I don't know. I'm just not, I don't like, I just want wrestling. Like, I just want a wrestling segment with wrestlers wrestling and like not hypnotizing each other and shit.
I get it, man, but I don't know.
It's not, like I said, it doesn't have to be like,
I like, you know, it's you know, I mean, it just it brings the wrestling entertainment value into the mix, you know, for me. So it doesn't bother me. So now we're already promoting Money in the Bank.
Yeah, moving on.
Moving on to Money in the Bank. Raw so far, I'm kind of liking the qualifiers.
Well, they had good, I mean, they're putting together good matchups finally.
So Ricochet,
I mean,
Matt Riddle,
Morrison.
Yeah.
Morrison.
Well,
I mean,
they're putting ladder match guys in. Like,
Well, right.
Morrison.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's going to be much better than last year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Hopefully nobody gets thrown off the fucking roof.
Well, hopefully it's not cinematic.
Yeah. No, it should just be a regular Money in the Bank if they're going back to regular arenas.
Well, but the live crowd, is that going to be at Money in the Bank, or is
The date of
live,
Money in the Bank. Let's see.
or is live crowd
Is
with
SummerSlam
SummerSlam?
first crowd back? I don't want another cinematic.
I'm looking. Hang on. I'm checking.
Speaking of throwing people off the roof, the guy who did that was Aleister Black, now known as his indie name, Tommy End. Going back to his indie name, has been making the rounds on.
It is technically July 18th, and the live road shows are supposed to start the 16th. So it's possible.
Maybe. Well,
that
look up Money in the Bank and see where it is, where it's scheduled to be. If it says it's at the Thunderdome or if it's in an arena. But Tommy
Yeah, but
End,
there would be commercials promoting the shit out of it to buy tickets.
Yeah, you would think so.
So
Tommy End, there's interest in, of course, we already knew this, but AEW seems to be keen on bringing in the former Aleister Black.
of course.
Zelina Vega hinted online last Friday, because it was a Friday night Dynamite because of basketball. Andrade did an interview with JR, and he says, I've got a surprise for you at the end of it. And right after the promo, Zelina Vega made a little sly tweet, like a little face or a little question mark or something like that afterward. So
That would be great.
possible that we're getting Andrade, Zelina, and Aleister Black all making the move over to AEW.
Now that would be amazing.
I would love that. I mean, I feel like they got the good thing is they're getting another show. Rampage starts in August. Shit, they might need another title belt. They have so many guys now. It's like they have a full. Finally feels like a full roster after this whole pandemic thing. So, did we find out where Money in the Bank is?
It's in Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas.
That sounds fake.
I'm telling you, that's what it says. I Googled the place up to look. It's an actual place.
Like
I did not
Dickies-
just make it up.
Dickies the Pants.
It's spelled Dickies.
Well, I'm saying, like the company that makes Dickies, like the khakis, the khaki
don't
pants.
I wouldn't wear Dickies. So
Could you imagine? It's probably the company. So it's God willing, that means if we have a live crowd in an arena somewhere in Texas, then we've got a Money in the Bank that's not going to be cinematic.
it's located within the Will Rogers Memorial Center.
Great.
It only just opened October 26th, of 2019.
Wow.
It's a brand new place.
That's important to somebody in Texas. That's my friend Jesse. Rick Steiner's son is actually Bronson Rick Steiner, is a former football player.
Big boy.
Big dude.
Big
he's had a
dude.
WWE tryout. I don't know if he's reported the Performance Center. I don't believe he has. So, I mean, there could be a bidding war going on between
I
them.
have heard that AEW is interested in him. So that's a good call. Thanks for checking us out, JF.
Yeah, man.
On YouTube, it looks like. So appreciate you.
Nice.
Yeah, really appreciate you. But yeah, I've heard that rumor also. That would be a huge game for AEW.
You know, I think there's a point now where they should make a division that is all second and third generation wrestlers. Like, just have, like, not like the faction legacy, but like just a whole division of people you could only compete if your dad was a wrestler. Because they have enough of them where there's like 30 fucking guys. Speaking of, since we're talking about Bronson, we should also talk about Brock. And no, I'm not talking about Brock Lesnar. I'm talking about Brock Armstrong, which everybody who was watching, when Arn Anderson said Brock, everybody shit their pants.
Yep.
And then he said Anderson, and you're like, oh, it makes more sense now. So, I mean, hell of a name. It's a very strong name. Brock Anderson, who is still very green because he threw those Dark Order punches. But then he got in that match and actually looked really good. He hit a nice snap DDT. He has his dad's problem of looking 45 when he's actually 25. He's already going bald. He's got the dad bod. He's built exactly like a young Arn Anderson. And if he can take some of that Anderson talent and put it to use and put in a few more reps, because that was his first match from what I understand. Very first match, despite being trained at he's trained at Nightmare Factory doing like simulated matches there, but this is the first match in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Not a bad debut.
Got to change the clothes though.
The clothes, I mean, he dresses. What was which pay-per-view? What was the pay-per-view where Brian Pillman said, "I respect you, Booker Man," to Kevin Sullivan? You remember? Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that pay-per-view, right after that match, because it ended too short, they sent Arn Anderson out to wrestle maybe Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan, yeah.
So he wrestled but he came out in the khaki short and the boat shoes and the polo shirt. So I feel like this is one of two things. One is that his clothes were an homage to how Arn Anderson came out during that pay-per-view, or two, the Anderson family just has a look that they stick with. And
no sense of style.
It is polo shirts tucked into khaki shorts with a pair of boat shoes, like you're going out sailing. Like it looked like it was like this is it. Do it, please let me know. Like he should just be on the boat with the wind blowing, like in his hair, in what's left of his hair. No, he needs to change the wardrobe.
I can't forget we're not in love anymore.
But it was such a yacht rock, like
it was.
He needed the Gavin, what's his face hat from Love Boat, and that's all. He just needed the look. Yes, but I like him. I think he's young enough to where he's got potential. We got to see what happens with him.
Absolutely.
But he needs, as I like to say, more time in the soup. You know, soup's no good when you first put it on the stove. It needs more time. So best wishes to him. And also, like, again, tying into Bronson's Rex Steiner, that's such a big opportunity. If you have like Arn Anderson managing Brock Anderson and like Dean Malenko's back there as an agent and all this stuff. Imagine you've got the opportunity, whether it's NXT or whether it's AEW, to not only get Bronson Steiner, but you also get the dog
face gremlin,
big bad booty daddy to come in and hype this kid up. And you got Scott Steiner cutting Scott Steiner promos with Bronson there, and he's like, ready to go. And like, yeah, I would love it.
Good shit.
Yeah. Want to do last couple? I see the bottom thing now. AEW. They've been kind of in a weird spot because TNT has that contract for the NBA, so their shows have been on Friday nights instead of Wednesday. So they haven't been getting these big ratings, but they're still having some fun stuff. Like there was this fake MMA match between Jake Hager and Wardlow. There were a lot of complaints about that online, but I'm going to break from the Twitter hate here. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's on a pro wrestling show, it's not going to be a real MMA fight.
Right.
You got to be real fucking stupid to think that. So what did you think they were going to do? Were they going to go out there and throw real punches at each other? No, they're going to throw wrestling punches and sometimes use wrestling moves. But the story was, for people who are this really, like, unfortunately, since Vince McMahon decided to scream in Michael Cole's ear and Michael Cole has to tell everybody what they're seeing, nobody thinks about what's going on in wrestling anymore. Here's what happened. Jake Hager is a trained MMA fighter, for as much as crap as people give him. Trained MMA fighter, legit NCAA amateur wrestler. Wardlow, pro wrestler, doesn't necessarily have the same skill set. So what does Jake Hager do? He fights wrestling, grappling, American catch wrestling, and mixed martial arts style, where Wardlow was trying to pull off wrestling moves and did a Hurricane Rana and all this other stuff because he knows the pro wrestling. And what was the finish? The guy who was the MMA fighter in the MMA match choked out the guy who didn't know MMA. It made complete fucking sense. And then they had the typical, I like how they made it look like the UFC. They filmed it like a UFC match, and then right at the end, they did the old somebody jumps in the cage thing. And this happens at like every UFC event now where it's become kind of a joke. But they ran in and they had a fight in the cage, and it set up the whole thing, and this feud, the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, is continuing on. And the best news to come out of all of it is now that we've got this Hager Wardlow thing out of the way, the next thing on the docket, aside from Sammy against MJF, is FTR against Proud and Powerful, the former LAX. And I cannot wait for those guys to have a nice long feud that leads up to a big match on a pay-per-view, hopefully for the tag team titles. And I'm just, everybody's been chomping at the bit for Santana and Ortiz to be big stars. And when are they going to get there? When's their time? Well, now this is their time. They're cutting great promos. They look good. They've got another great tag team on the other side. That's FTR. And I'm just really looking forward to it. I think they're going to kill it.
They're all going to kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, all those matches, all those feuds that are going to branch from these, this core, they're all going to be outstanding. And it's just entertaining shit. AEW is doing it right, man. We've been saying it from the very beginning. It's there's not much to really critique. I mean, listen, there's things to critique. Don't get me wrong.
Right,
but
every so often, like Chris Jericho gets pushed off the cage, and it's like, oh, well, there's cardboard boxes underneath. It's like, well, yeah, motherfucker,
right.
What was he going to land on the metal? But anyway, there's like little things like that, or the explosion, the ring explosion,
right?
But like the wrestling stuff, I really haven't found a problem with the wrestling stuff.
And the booking, the stories, the way the matches are coming across. Even down to Aubrey Edwards, who has become, in my opinion, one of the greatest referees I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because
she's really
she is the most animated and just at first it kind of bothered me, and then I just grew to love it. Like, she's just so emotional and so invested, and It's like I don't know. You have to watch her if you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's just they do it right, man. They do it right. AEW's the shit. As of right now, WWE could take some lessons, and I really do believe that things are going to change. It's just we got to get to.
I think so too. I think
They have to.
Yeah.
Vince knows the show is stale. He knows it.
Well, I do. No. But no, I think the live crowds is definitely like it feels like they've been in a holding pattern for the last year and a half, waiting for live crowds so they can get back and do what they do. But it's been to the detriment of like everybody. Like Drew McIntyre, I don't even know at this point because he's been in the title match so many times. Would people fucking cheer for this guy? Like he's been in title matches and got screwed and lost and this and that's. Like he looks like a loser now. You know,
and he's still getting a second chance for Money in the Bank qualifier next week now.
I know, and that's crazy too. Like, but he's not supposed. But if he wins the Money in the Bank, he still can't cash it in on Lashley, right?
Correct. Unless there's some loophole.
Oh, all of this makes my head hurt. But anyway, I agree. Once we get back to the live crowds, I think things should hopefully kick back in. Because there's honestly, you're right. Vince probably knows the show needs to change, but also they're in a bubble right now. They're in the Thunderdome. They can press a button and people cheer, boo, or whatever the fuck they want. There's nothing like the live crowd response to tell you what people think about a character or a match or a gimmick that's going on. So
about 5 people got kicked off last night.
Yeah, I saw one guy got kicked off because he kept trying to make a high five with the person next to him.
Yep.
And nobody was doing it. And then he would try to do like a heart. And then I was just boop, and he got replaced. I saw him like blink out of existence.
Yeah, but the best part is hearing them yelling at these people while you're watching the Thunderdome.
That's
like you got 30 seconds to stop or you're being canceled. And then you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Dude yelled at me one time because I was
oh no.
Every time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're being removed.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bye.
What was the reason?
She wasn't clapping for a face. She was clapping
Well, of course. I mean, yep. I mean, good for you for doing it. I would have done the same thing. I would have done the exact same thing.
Of course I was clapping for Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan can go bye-bye in the trash.
There we go. I know I like that kid for.
And that's the bottom line.
Because of one of them said so.
And on that note,
that's
Vince,
right.
take it home, my friend.
What?
What?
It's a war report. What? It's a war report. What? Yeah. So,
I will not see you guys for 2 weeks. Don't forget.
Yes, we said it at the top of the show, but we want to thank Kat. This is not a goodbye because obviously she's going to be back on the show. It's just she's moving. She's going to be back in a couple weeks once she gets situated in the new digs in the new house and gets her internet set up. And as I was saying earlier before you got on, maybe we're even going to see an appearance from Bob one of these days. So, yeah.
Well, Eric, Bob, and I are having a SummerSlam event.
Oh, great.
Eric's going to come up to us, and we're going to go watch SummerSlam at Bob's house.
And then when Eric, because he doesn't feel like being on the podcast, I feel like because he's by himself, I'm the same way. Listen, if I wasn't working until 6 o'clock today, so I could then jump right on this podcast, I might have just fallen asleep and taken a nap. You guys are the reason I'm awake right now. So I understand why sometimes Eric doesn't want to come on the show. But if he comes to you, then you could just put up one camera and one phone,
yeah.
and then it's just you're like getting him. So we don't have to arrange 4 people logging in from all the different places.
He has to stay with me for a couple of days because that's a Sunday. He's not going back the same night, so he will be there that Tuesday. I promise.
Oh, good. All right. So that sounds like a plan. So see, Kat moving is overall a good thing. It's a change, but it's a big change. So we're very happy that you're able to do this. And I know it's.
I may jump in the car though next Tuesday night though, just to say help me because I will be in a car with my husband and 4 kids for 8 hours. I may need some sanity.
Oh my God!
Well, have a wonderful, safe move.
Definitely.
And
move.
I have to run to an appointment, so I'm gonna run.
All right,
but,
you're gonna run. I'm gonna.
Yes.
I have the thing here where I can hit end broadcast.
Perfect.
Anyway, so
good show. I will see you all next week, Kat. Enjoy the move.
Likewise. All right. So thank you for tuning into the War Report podcast brought to you by tagmeadate.com. Follow all of our social media at tagmeadate. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Facebook, all over the place. Just put at tagmeadate. You'll find it. If you go to youtube.com, you type in tagmeadate in the search bar, tagmeadate. No spaces, all one word. You'll see our channel. You can hit subscribe and then hit the bell. If you go to Twitch, it's twitch.tv/war report for our live Twitch stream. We're on Periscope. We're on Facebook Live and YouTube Live streaming Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're not in the Eastern Time Zone, adjust your clocks as you need to for 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. And if you prefer an audio version rather than watching the live stream or watching our video archive on YouTube, you can go to your favorite podcast apps such as Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or SoundCloud, and you type in Tag Me a Date or the War Report, and you will see our podcast. Be sure to subscribe. The audio version goes up within an hour or two of the show going off the air on Tuesday nights, and it goes right to your phone. As long as you're subscribed to the show, it goes right to your phone, and you get the latest episode as soon as it's updated. And you can listen to it in the car or at work, while you're at the gym, whatever you're doing. And that's about it for this week. So, Kat, honey, we will see you and Autumn and everybody else in a couple weeks. Have a very safe trip. And bye, Autumn. Yes, we will see you guys very soon. Have a safe trip. And we will see everybody else next Tuesday for another edition of the War Report. Thank you for watching, everybody.